This training video is going to focus on supervisors and how supervisors interface with their employees and their time cards. So I am on the time card portal page, and I have two portlets showing here. I have the first portlet, which is my individual time card, and then I have a time card approval portlet. Because I have employees who report to me, I am going to actually see this information here. If I did not have employees who reported to me, I would just see a little box here that would say I have no active groups to approve time for. So if you are a supervisor and you do not see active periods for pay groups, then you would want to communicate that with HR and payroll. But let's just focus on what we see here, which is my particular approval employees. I have salaried staff, which are exempt employees, and I have hourly staff who report to me. So that's why you see these two separate pay groups. If I had, say, a work study group or work study student who reported to me, I would also see work study. If I had a student employee, I would see another group that would say student employee. Each of our pay groups are separated out by, each of our approval areas are separated out by pay groups, which are the different kinds of employees and how they're paid. So let's go ahead and focus on the salaried staff for now. Notice that I have a link to the salaried staff, which I'll click on in a moment, but I also want to show you that these are past payroll periods which have been submitted through the automatic time cards. You can see that they are in the submitted status, and I have one that is in the current status. If I only wanted to see as this grows and we use this more and more, you're going to obviously see more and more, and this is going to get a longer and longer list. So I may want to just click on a particular year, which would show me only that year's information. In my case, it's the same thing. But let's go ahead and click on the salary staff pay group, and when I do this, I'm going to see each of the individual pay periods, which is what I just saw previously. So if I go back, I see this same information here is what I'm going to see if I click on the actual pay periods. So what I want to do is I want to click on the current pay period, which is here for this salaried staff group. And when I do that, I'm going to see each of the individual employees who actually fit into that particular pay group. These are the pay periods that have been submitted, and I can click on those to view them. I can see that each of the employees has committed a certain amount of time and a certain number of hours they may have taken off. They have a total number, and that their time card is in a final status, and that it has been submitted to payroll. And this column is actually pretty important, and if you click on the little question mark, it will show you what these different statuses mean. No hours, which I'll show you in a moment, means that the employee has not submitted any hours. Saved hours would be that they've saved but they haven't finalized. Final means they've finalized their time card, which means you now own it and must approve it. They no longer have access to it other than to just view it. Entered means that you have entered time for that particular employee on their behalf. Override means you've actually changed hours that they may have submitted, and then submitted means you have actually submitted the time card to payroll. Alright, so this is a past pay period, so this pay period is closed and all time cards have been submitted to payroll, but you can go back and view it at any time. So let's go ahead and look at the current one. When we look at current, notice the window changes slightly. It still has my list of employees and their titles, but now I have a pencil next to each of those employees, and I also can see that they have not entered any hours. Now this is not unusual for an exempt employee to not have any hours, because we're on the Tuesday of a brand new pay period, which means that they're probably not going to submit their submit their hours until the end of the pay period, because they just put in a total number of hours. The only time that you really see this changing with exempt employees through the pay period is if they take a day off, or if they have a sick day or something else that they need to record. Otherwise, they're just going to put an 80 at the end of the pay period and submit that. Now I can click on any of the employees' names over here to see more information about them. So it brings up an image of the employee. I can also contact them. This would be an email, and I would contact them through email. I can also see what they're entering and whether they've made any comments. They may have submitted comments to me, and I can actually add comments here. Notice that this is just a summary of what we see back in this list, which is no hours recorded at this time. I can also click on separated employees here, like these two separated by these two. So I just want to contact these three. I can click those check boxes and say that I want to contact those particular employees, and I can do so just through an email, which would just contact those three, and it also allows me to browse for a file and attach a file. Alright, so that's your salaried employees, and when the salaried employees enter their time and they're ready to be, they've finalized them, so it looks more like this, where they have their name and it's in a final status. You're going to see that this is going to end up with a green check mark, and you're just going to check next to the names that have the green check marks, and when you do so and you click all of them, you would click Submit Selected Time Cards to Payroll, and then you would just do that on the payroll submit day, which is the Monday following the Sunday where employees have to submit their hours. But we're obviously not at that point. We still are in an operating open pay period. So let's go back to our pay groups. So we'll click back to our pay groups. Notice I have two pay groups. We just went through the salary. Now we're going to go through hourly. And if I click on the hourly staff, I see two employees that are hourly who work within my area. Josh Blumensott has actually entered time for Monday, and so has Julie Mayville. They both entered hours on a Monday. So notice that with the hourly employees, they're actually accumulating time each day because they have to record their hours per day. So it's really common to see those hours growing through the pay period versus your exempt employees who are just entering a total sum at the end of the pay period. So let's go into Josh's time card here, and notice that his time card is different because it actually shows each day of the pay period and how many hours are worked. So he would have, in this particular day, he's entered 8 hours. He may have had 7 hours and taken 1 hour off in a total of 8 hours. So it just depends on what the employee is going to enter for their time. Something that needs to be noted here, and this is this could be a potential gotcha. It's a big red warning here, but for some reason it's easy to just bypass this. If you enter this employee's hours, you need to be aware that you will not, if you modify their hours at this point, they will not be able to enter hours on their own. You will be entering hours on their behalf. So do not edit their hours until the end of the pay period if there is a discrepancy. What you would want to do if it's during the pay period is you just want to contact the employee and say, hey, you know, I thought you only worked 8 hours yesterday. How come you've got an hour of overtime? You know, you didn't make a comment. I don't know why that's there. So you would be doing that through the contact up here, and then you would just be editing hours at the end of pay period. And that does override the employee's hours or override their time. All right, so let's go back. Now with the hourly employees, I want to look at a past pay period. So I want you to see what this looks like. So I've got two employees here again. I have one employee who has submitted overtime, and that's why I want to show you this. So in Josh's case, on a particular day during this pay period, he had some overtime. And so you can see that on Saturday 2/1 there was 3 hours of overtime. And notice he's added a comment in here, which is really important for a supervisor. He's noted that he forgot to schedule a student worker and there was an LSSU class and he needed to come in on that Saturday and work in order to accommodate that class. So this is very clear as to why there's overtime and why he submitted that overtime. So that's why this is so useful. You can go back in time and see what those hours were.